You are just the current set of management leading a corporation. Part of your responsibility is to leave it in a really good spot for that next set of leaders and that next set of generation to lead the company even further into the future.
Welcome to Agency for Change, a podcast from KidGlov that brings you the stories of change makers who are actively working to improve our communities. In every episode, we'll meet with people who are making a lasting impact in the places we call home.
Hey everyone, this is Lynn Weinman. Welcome back to another episode of the Agency for Change podcast. Now, I know every one of you who has listened before knows that I love marketing and branding. In fact, I'm always on the lookout for a company that has great messaging and a catchy tagline. And one company who has done this well is called Ameritas. And their tagline for the last several years has been fulfilling life. And today I'm excited to talk to my friend and the President and Chief Operating Officer of Ameritas, Sue Wilkinson. Sue absolutely exemplifies the idea of fulfilling life both professionally and personally, as she has dedicated 28 years to helping millions of customers plan well to live fulfilling lives through insurance, financial services, and employee benefits. She's also a strong advocate for numerous charitable organizations and causes. Sue, I can't wait to talk with you today. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate being asked, and I'm looking forward to our chat.
Me too. So, Sue, I drive by your building every day, but I recognize because we have people across the country, maybe some of them haven't heard of Ameritas before. Could you start by just telling us more about the organization?
Sure. So Ameritas is an insurance company based here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we offer all sorts of insurance products. So life insurance, annuities, retirement plans, wealth management. So if people want to invest in, stocks and bonds, whatever, we can set up some accounts from that standpoint. We also offer dental, vision, and hearing care.
I bet a lot of people are familiar with you for the dental, vision, and hearing care that you provide to employers and individuals from across the country.
Yes, that is generally where our name recognition comes the most.
Fantastic. So one of the things I've read about Ameritas is how your services go beyond the traditional offerings to enhance customers' overall well-being and satisfaction, thus the fulfilling life tagline that I love so much. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So when we think about it, and I love the fulfilling life tagline too, I actually was blessed to be part of that time period when we were changing our brand.
Nice.
So it was exciting at that point in time. But when we think about fulfilling life, there's all aspects to someone's lifetime. And we can be there in many ways throughout that, both in good times and in bad. So when we say about the services and things that we offer, we can help people truly enjoy the fun things like retirement and having an appropriate retirement to live your life, post-retirement. We're also there during some icky times though, too. There's deaths that happen in the family. We help them financially, the remaining family members, with the proceeds. But then we have disability income as well. So if somebody becomes disabled for a period of time, we're there to provide insurance. So, there's some downtimes that we're there to support people, but it's the fun times too. And then when you flip over to the dental, vision, and hearing, nobody likes to have root canals, but people do love to get their braces off, right? And smile their beautiful smile after they're done. So you have the highs and lows, even from that side of the business too. So that's what we kind of mean by we're providing services along the way. We did start, 137 years ago, just life insurance primarily, but listening to customers and just needs of consumer bases, we've expanded our product lines a lot over that time period.
That's amazing. 137 years ago. That's quite a legacy for a company to go that long and that far.
It is, I would agree.
So Sue, you've touched on this a little bit, but one of the things people are talking about right now is, hey, we're not quite sure, and particularly in an election year, we're not quite sure what's going on with the economy. There's a little bit of uncertainty. I'd love, because you've been in this business for so long, your perspective on how financial planning can really play a role in helping both individuals and businesses thrive when we're kind of in that question mark area.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in financial planning and long-term financial planning. So, there are ups and downs. You always hear like you have to stay in it for the long term. Like, do not react
Yeah.
to volatility that's going on into the market from day to day. So, like, if you're of a certain age, don't look at your retirement plan account every day because you need to be in it, for the long term. But both individuals and businesses, the part that businesses come into play for us is you can have small business owners like yourself, Lynn, right?
Yeah.
Who needs to think about succession for their business. We can help with that in terms of your financial planning for you to be viable for your own retirement, but also set up your business in a way that it can then thrive, post you being, the person who's leading it. We can do that for small businesses, with key man insurance and just a variety of other
Yeah.
things that we can do. So it does span individuals as well as businesses. And then as a whole, businesses need to be able to offer offerings to their associates. That's where our 401k plans can come into play.
Yes.
That's when our dental and vision and hearing can come into play. Because you want to employ people, that feel like they're
Absolutely.
getting a benefit from you as an employer too.
Yeah. And I personally am a little bit of a caretaker, right? Like, I want to make sure everybody has what they need.
Right.
I know I'm very soft-hearted. So, I want to make sure we've got disability, short-term and long-term, and all the things in place so that if something happens, my team members are protected, but I'm also protected because
Right.
I'm just going to want to pay for it all. And, as a small business, you can't always do all of that.
Exactly.
So thank you
Exactly.
for that. So I mentioned in the intro, you've been with Ameritas for 28 years. I bet you've seen a lot. You mentioned being part of the rebranding and the tagline, but what are some other key milestones or maybe even transformations that you've witnessed during that time?
Yes, I would say there's probably three big things over a 28-year career that I can think of. So we've done two very large mergers, one in 1999 that doubled the size of our business.
Oh my.
That was a company in Bethesda, Maryland, or the Washington, D.C. area. And then in 2005, we did another merger, which doubled our size again. And
Wow.
that was out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We still have a fairly decent sized presence with associates in that area, about 400 or 500 associates still in that area. We employ 2,500 nationwide, but those two mergers were monumental to us as an organization.
Yeah.
You're doubling your size. And then the third thing is right during the pandemic, we just had a conversation with our board in February of 2020. And then a month later, we all go into this
Yeah.
pandemic about investing in ourselves to transform how it is that we do our business and investing in ourselves by means of technology.
Yeah.
And so we called it technology enabled process improvement. TEPI for short is what we called it. It's still ongoing because in reality, transformation is always
Yeah.
ongoing. But we did ask to be allowed to invest in ourselves for a period of time to make sure that we were setting ourselves up for generations and generations. Like, you don't last 137 years by not thinking far enough ahead. And
Yeah.
we're just the current set of management. There will be another set of management in the future. We want to leave them in a spot that, we've done enough to transform ourselves such that people aren't feeling like they're having to do too much manual work or manipulate information too much in order to get, an output. So I think the transformation part is the third thing in my mind that sticks out,
Yeah.
for the 28 years.
The pandemic obviously was tough, and that is an understatement. But I think one of the good things that did come out of it is it really did accelerate a lot of technology transformation that, maybe we would have been hesitant for or resistant to, but there was no choice. You had to make it happen. And wow, the foresight to have had your board approve that literally days before we shut down. I mean, I know not a lot could have happened in those 30 days, but it set the wheels in place for it to happen. So I think
Yeah.
that's really a great thing. So, Sue, I love seeing strong and generous women rise to leadership roles. And I definitely would say you are a strong and generous woman. I'm curious though, in the 28 years, as you have been on this journey, did you have any struggles along the way?
I think everybody has struggles along the way. I would say this, my struggles were simplified, I would say, because of the amazing support I had of my spouse. So,
Yeah.
it's a team effort when you have a young family, you're trying to progress in your career.
Yes.
For me in particular, being in an industry that's very, very male dominated,
Yeah.
industry traditionally at the executive levels. So spousal support was, meaningful, obviously, to me in the journey. So, but I would say like from a true struggles standpoint, I was really blessed. Emeritus, even though the industry as a whole was pretty much male dominated, we had a lot of strong female leaders within Emeritus here in Lincoln, but also nationwide. Some of those acquisitions that we did, we had female leaders of like a mutual fund company or of a broker dealer. The support that they provided along the way, or like, even if it wasn't even conversations, but my observations over the time periods of
Yeah.
how they went through and did things, I think helped make my struggles maybe less than perhaps some others might have encountered
Yeah.
along the way. But in general, the balance of work and family, it's hard, but
Yeah.
you put in the effort both on both sides of the house and you're rewarded.
Sue, I'm going to shout out to having an amazing spouse. It does really make this journey easier. And, being able to work together as if you choose to have a family and kids and balance all of the things, that is the thing. I've heard the new term is life work harmony, because I do think sometimes that balance is a myth, but getting them to maybe work together is a good thing. But having observed you and known you for years, you seem to make those things look easy. So kudos
Thank
to
you.
you for that. Also, you mentioned the strong women role models at Emeritus. I mean, one of my role models is somebody I have been able to observe and work with in community and charitable events, but is a woman named Joanne Martin, who has passed, but she led Emeritus for many years. I'm curious, what was it like having someone like her as a mentor in your career?
Immeasurable is the word
Yeah.
that comes to my mind as to what her impact was. So she was my mentor for 26 years. I had
Wow.
worked for a public accounting firm, a large public accounting firm that audited Emeritus. And so she was actually my client. And then she had approached me to apply for a job, here at Emeritus. And from that point on, even though at that point I was not directly reporting to her, she was not my hiring manager,
Yeah.
she was somebody that helped navigate, I guess, my career here at Emeritus, because I'm someone that gets bored fairly easily. So
Mm.
like I'd be like, okay, now I've done this. Is there anything else you think I should
Yeah.
maybe think about? And she would always kind of point me in the right direction. It was up to me to make it happen, and to do the work to be successful in it. But she would say, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about
Yeah.
this? And it was really, when I reflect on it, her hand was in almost every career move, because I've had like 8 different, pretty significantly different roles in this organization over 28 years. And
Yeah.
until this last one, because she had passed by the time I've been named president, she pretty much had a hand in almost every single one of them. So immeasurable, that's what I would say.
I love that word. And I can imagine her smiling down on you, knowing that this is the next chapter in your career as well. So, Sue, as marketing person, I love great stories. And I'm wondering if you can share a success story or an example that really illustrates the positive impact Emeritus has had on a customer's life or business?
Sure. So we do have customer stories on our website. So I would point people to ameritas.com, and we
Awesome.
launched, I think we maybe have 6 stories there. I can't remember exactly how many we have out there right now.
That's
But and
great.
they run the gamut. So there's stories about disability income, there's story about life insurance, about an employer. So I would encourage people to go out and look at them. For me, what is always most compelling is because I turn it back into my own experiences. Like, why did I commit myself to the insurance industry as an industry that, I wanted to work in? So the stories about how life insurance helped people, post a traumatic event are the ones that are always the tear jerkers to me. And the reason it resonates with me is because I lost my own father when I was 25. He was 53.
Oh,
And even
Sue,
though
I
I had
didn't
a
know that. Yeah.
yeah,
So this really
yeah.
has to be meaningful to you.
It is. And so
Yeah.
like even though I had a working mother, which was, a little unusual in the day in rural Nebraska to have a working mom, but so even though she had income, dad's life insurance really helped, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
set a peaceful, like I don't have to worry about this necessarily. And then ironically, the same thing happened to my mother-in-law, 10 years later with an unexpected passing of my father-in-law. So those are the ones that I just think that's the purity of this business. Insurance, people don't wake up and say, I want to work in insurance.
Yeah.
But when you think about it from this perspective, it's just so purposeful. And it's what has continued to draw me to this as an industry.
I love that. I love that it has touched your life personally, and that makes so much sense to me about why you chose this career, but also about why you're so passionate about helping people through the work of Emeritus. So, Sue, looking ahead, because I know you're always looking ahead. I know you mentioned you get bored easily. What are some of the future goals and initiatives for Emeritus? And how do you see the company's impact growing into the future?
So again, going back to the tagline of fulfilling life, we want to fulfill more lives. So one
Yeah.
of our overarching goals is always to grow the number of customers that we're interacting with and helping along the way. And so we do that in 2 ways: organically, which we consider to be just the general sales that we're doing day in and day out, as well as persisting the business, keeping the business that we already have. So that's one way of making sure that we're continuing to fulfill the lives of our customers. And then there is the acquisitions aspect too. We do continue to look for opportunities where we can grow as an organization. And the thing is, anytime we do an acquisition, so I talked about 2 big mergers, but we've had numerous smaller acquisitions along the way. And when we do acquire a company, we count the number of customers. That's part of what we look at. How many
Ah,
customers?
yeah.
It's not just about revenue, but how many customers come with this? How many more lives are we going to be able to touch as part of this acquisition? And it's something that we put in our business case when we're selling it to internal management. And it's
Yeah.
a big enough acquisition, it goes all the way to the board. But anyway, so speaking about the future, it's just always growing organically or through acquisitions to make sure that we're just enabling more customers to have the joys that you can have by being part of our organization.
You know what I love about that, Sue, is when you are part of an organization or leading an organization that does what they do so well in such a beneficial way. It's great to have a mission that says we are going to touch more lives in this very impactful way. So I appreciate that you said that. I'm going to flip this a little bit because I've also mentioned in the intro that I've known you to be so involved in the community and with different charitable organizations. And you actually taught me something that has really impacted my involvement in charitable organizations, and that is the 3 board rule. Would you be willing to expand on that and then also just share why community involvement is so important to you?
Sure. And I can't take total credit for it because it is something that Joanne had
Uh,
passed along to me, 20 some years ago.
Makes a lot of
Uh,
sense.
yeah, but the 3 board rule is generally this: like if you want to be involved, there's 3 aspects of to consider. being involved in when you're thinking about things. So one is if you have a family, if there's something that's important to your family, so in my case, it would have been my kids, be involved in something that's important to them. So, in that capacity, I would volunteer to be on advisory boards for the school, or things like that. One is to be involved in your industry so that you can continue to grow and learn in your industry. So whether or not that's being involved in your industry's lobbying group or an operational group within your industry or whatever. And then the third one is just something different that's outside of both your family and your professional life. What's something that you maybe just want to learn more about and you feel like you can share talents, with that organization. So and in that case, I've been on volunteer boards for like Bryan College of Health Sciences was,
Yeah.
one of them. Now, is it related to my industry? No. Is it related to my kids? No. But boy, it sure was very interesting to be part of
Yeah.
that, organization and learn more about that college. So that's kind of the 3 board rule. As I've become empty nestered, there's not as much, with the kids. So then now that aspect of it for me has turned more to my
Yeah.
faith-based stuff. So,
That makes
and
a
just
lot of
community
sense.
involvement as a whole is important to me, Lynn. Just, I guess I learned it at an early age. My parents did stuff in our community growing up. It's just it fills your bucket, right? To like give
It
back.
really does. It really does. It really does. And I just want to say, on behalf of the community and the different boards I know that you've touched, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do there. Because I think, once again, we talked a little bit about that work-life balance or life-work harmony. When
Yeah.
you throw community service in there as well, it's very enriching and very heart fulfilling, but it's also another thing to kind of balance in all of the things we're trying to do. So Sue, for our listeners who would like to learn more about Ameritas, what's the best way for them to connect?
I would say the website that I referred to earlier. So just, www.ameritas.com. You
Sounds
can
great.
find out, all sorts of things about our products or our financial strength or our history. Yeah, it's just a good
Fantastic.
resource.
We'll have that linked up in the show notes as well. And shout out, Sue, to your marketing team. I have several friends on your great marketing team. They do a lovely
Yes.
job. So,
Yes, they do.
all right, I'm going to ask you my favorite question next. And I think I mentioned this is podcast episode 201. We've asked this on every single episode.
Oh.
But Sue, I am inspired by motivational quotes. I get to talk to such interesting people like you on the podcast. Could you give us a few words of your own to inspire our listeners?
Yes, and I kind of already referred to it a little bit when I talked about the 137 years of Emeritus, but my words are this, particularly when you're in a larger corporation, you are just the current set of management leading a corporation. And there were many before you who helped set the foundation of you being able to lead the way you're leading currently. Part of your responsibility is to leave it in a really good spot for that next set of leaders and that next set of generation to lead the company even further into the future. So that's good advice, I think.
I love it. You know what? It's good advice for both your work management, but also as you think about all of the community boards you've been on, good advice for that type of role as well, to leave things in a really good spot. I love that, thinking about you're just the current ones. You are building on the great work of those that came before, and you're going to leave it in a good place for those that come after. Very nice. Very nice. Sue, I always like talking with you. As we wrap up this great conversation today, what is the most important thing you would like our listeners to remember about the work that you're doing?
So I'll go back to kind of the insurance concept as a whole, Lynn. And in my mind, insurance companies have the unique ability to span across many needs of an individual or a business. We can sell something today that needs to be in place 100 years from now. So basically, we can help people from birth to death, and that we're there in both the good times and the bad.
Very nice. I love that, Sue. Sue, I fully believe the world needs more people like you, more organizations like Ameritas. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Absolutely, Lynn. I appreciate you asking.
We hope you enjoyed today's Agency for Change podcast. To hear all our interviews with those who are making a positive change in our communities, or to nominate a changemaker you'd love to hear from, visit KidGlov.com at KidGlov.com to get in touch. As always, if you like what you've heard today, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.